Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Secrets in Medical Device Sales, brought to you by the Girls of Grit. And tonight we are coming to you guys with a very, very special interview of a very special lady. And I think at the end of this, if you are not inspired by her stories and her accomplishments and all the things that this woman is achieving, I don't know who you are, but it absolutely astounds Cindy and I. So we are so excited to have Tina Valbh with us tonight. And she is going to share with you guys her story and her passion and the things that drive her and push her forward.
Welcome, Tina. We are so happy to have you. So actually, that being said, let's dive right in. Can you tell us just a little bit about you and how your career started as a retail pharmacist? Let's start there.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me on this podcast. I am really humbled that you thought of me, and I'm super excited to have this discussion. So thank you very much for thinking of me to be on here. So my career, I'm a pharmacist, but I didn't always know I wanted to be a pharmacist. What I did know is that I liked healthcare, and I was drawn to the idea of making an impact in people's lives. So early on, I explored different paths, but then pharmacy school stood out. And then that was a path that I went down. So early on in my career, I started off as a clinical pharmacist. I worked in retail pharmacy, worked at Walgreens, worked at Walmart in retail, and I quickly pivoted into doing something different. I wanted to be more impactful than just that role that I was in. And so I got into the world of what we call specialty pharmaceuticals, which are high cost products for complex conditions like cancer, autoimmune disease, MS, or even the rare and orphan products. So I came into the field as a young pharmacist, ready to learn and to roll up my sleeves. And as I got into my career, this role, I learned firsthand the challenges that patients, especially with complex diseases, were facing. So things around access to treatment, access to their medications. And I found out very quickly that the healthcare system isn't always built with the patient in mind, and it frustrated me. So I started asking bigger questions. Why is this process complicated? Can we fix it? And I started leaning more towards the business side of the pharmaceutical industry. And I ultimately then moved away from really that patient side of dispensing and more into the healthcare consulting. Transitioning to consulting and really building my own business was a complete leap of faith. I just said, I have to do things differently. I'm going to charter my own path. And that's how I got into consulting and working with pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, and other stakeholders within the industry. The nice thing was, along the way, I was encouraged by a lot of men who pushed me out of my comfort zone.
That's
And
interesting.
That's a good thing to hear.
I had quite a few mentors that were men, and they really challenged me and pushed me very, very hard out of my comfort zone. And they encouraged me to take on roles I never would have envisioned for myself. And quite often I was the only woman in the room, which meant I had to work harder, prove myself twice as hard to my male counterparts. But in the end, it all paid off really well and ended up building a thriving consulting practice that now does strategic consulting. We help launch products, and we also have a technology arm where we do prescriptions and the patient journey.
So lots of very intelligent, amazing things. But, Tina, as you were telling us this story earlier on, were you in a very transitional time in your life when you took that leap of faith? I mean, kind of like, oh, wow, you went for it, girl, but holy cow, hang on. So tell
Yeah.
our listeners about that because, a lot of us, when we're faced with taking that leap of faith, sometimes it's like at the most inopportune time you think in your life. It's like the old saying, there's never a great time to have a baby. It's like there's never a great time to take that leap of faith, right? So tell us about that because I think that's a really great part of your story.
Yeah. So I had my first daughter. I have two girls, by the way. They are the reason I do everything that I do. And so I had my first daughter, and I really wanted the flexibility in my schedule. I wanted to be able to take her to school, go to the events at the school and not have to miss so much. And I really wanted to be more present in her life. And so I had to make a decision to find a job that allowed me the flexibility where I set my own schedule, my own time. And we had just gotten into a new home, our first home, mind you, and talk about financial stress as well. But my
Yeah.
husband encouraged me to just go for it, take the risk. He had full confidence that I would make it work. And even when I didn't have my own confidence, and I did, I went for it. So it was really that transition point of being a mother and aligning what my priorities should be. And also saying that I don't have to give up my career because I am a mother, and that you really can do both things. And I think sometimes it makes you maybe a little bit more effective when you are managing a career and also being a mom and a wife and a friend and a sister and a daughter and all those other things that come along with our identity. And it just helps us, I think, grow into a better person and maybe lead by example.
I love to hear you say that, because having two daughters, I have two daughters myself, and you're exactly right that when the life, the whole saying, if you want something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah.
Well, I think that goes along for working moms. You hear that sometimes. Well, in the working world, moms know how to get it done because your time is so valuable,
Yes.
and and you can prioritize. But I really need to applaud a few things that you said here. But when you talked about how you started as a retail pharmacist, and while you were working, you started to see some things in the healthcare system that made you see some, I don't want to say weaknesses, but what I think is so great that I want to point out, that I want to applaud that you did, is that then you decided, okay, well, now I want to build my business and be more of a patient advocate, because here you saw some things that weren't what you thought were right. And then here you are, a pharmacist. Now you're going to build a business. So I just think that's so amazing that I want us all to hear and really listen to how you had the confidence just to go from being a retail pharmacist to now saying, okay, I believe in this so much. I have a reason for doing this, that now I'm going to learn how to build a business.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. And that shift for me was extremely powerful because now instead of helping one patient at a time, through my consulting, I was helping thousands of patients and shaping just the programs and services for thousands of patients. So the shift for me was personally very powerful and a defining moment in my career.
That's awesome. I mean, that's so cool. And you have done some really tremendous things. You've worked with the FDA, right? I mean, weren't you
Yeah.
working with the FDA? I mean, who
Yeah.
gets to say that? Hey, I worked with the FDA.
I have, I was what they called a special government employee where I consulted. I know, right? I consulted with the FDA on their advisory board. So I was part of the risk management and safety advisory board. And they called me in to help them around just drug products, safety signals, what we were going to put on the package inserts. I also got to vote on products that were coming to market. So it's like just an incredible 5 years of working with them and really understanding how things moved within the government system around drug approval. So it gave me even a broader knowledge base of how all of that came to be.
That is super cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it obviously helped you as well in your consulting business, because now you saw
Yeah.
even more so, and you could then help companies understand where the FDA was coming from, and
Yep.
all the expectations that are involved in that. And that is so key, I think, especially in any type of medical sales, medical devices, to
Yep.
really make sure that you have the broad perspective and knowledge about all the key players that are involved. It's not just about your one product. It's also
Yep.
about the R&D and the approvals and the clinical trials and the patients and all the things that are involved. And I think that's so tremendous, Tina, that you were able to not only take that leap of faith, but really master it. I mean, that's very impressive.
Thank
And it
you.
seems,
Oh,
yes, that everything along the way you just learned and take it on as a challenge and just actually mastered it. And, you know, through all of this, that everything you're doing, building a business, having a family, you also have been through a personal journey. And I'd like you to share some of that with us to see where, you know, we talk so much on this podcast about growing and being a high performer. And we all want to do well and we want to do things. And we talk about having reasons why you do it. You have a strong why, being a patient advocate. And all this time, we mention when we remember to take care of ourselves and think about ourselves, because everything we do has a reason. We're doing this for our families, we're doing it for us. And so sometimes we get so caught up in some of the career challenges that sometimes things in life change our perspective and we remember that we can be grounded. And so I'd like you to share your story with our audience.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It really did change my world in an instant. I still had two young kids that needed their mom, and I had a business and employees I had to still worry about and make sure that the business was moving and kept together. But the cancer didn't stop me from continuing everything that I was doing.
Love that.
Instead, it just fueled and lit a different fire within me to do more things that truly spoke to my heart. And through my cancer journey, I became the patient. I was no longer the consultant. I was no longer the pharmacist. I wasn't the professional. I was a patient. And I experienced a lot of painful gaps in accessing healthcare, just the process, the delays. And it was so exhausting. I had a really hard time navigating my own care. And I sat back and I said, wow, I spent my entire career supporting this system. I spent my career even launching some of the products that ultimately I had to take. And yet it became very hard for me to access, to navigate. And I almost felt a little ashamed. I wanted to go backwards in time and say to every one of those patients that I had ever spoken to and counseled that I'm sorry, I didn't understand your journey at the time. And now I understand what you're going through because I was walking in their shoes. And just really understanding that unfortunately, healthcare is built around widgets and profits and Excel spreadsheets and graphs. And I am just an item, line item on an Excel spreadsheet and how much profit I can generate for an organization. That hit me pretty hard. And I was mad. I was angry. And I decided that I was going to do something about it and that my journey and the gaps that I felt were going to be amplified. And I had a network of people that I worked with in this industry, everybody from insurance companies to pharma manufacturers. And I was going to talk about my journey very loud and clear, and that we needed to have immediate change. The cancer didn't stop me. I kept going. And I would come home from chemo and I would get on a conference call. I came out of surgery and 2 days later, I'm back on calls or back. Like I just kept going forward. I kept looking forward. There was no time to look backwards or ask the question, why me? Why did I end up with stage 3 cancer? There was no time for that.
Gosh, Tina, I mean, I'm like wiping the tears away from my eyes as I'm listening. I'm like, don't tear up, don't tear up. But I mean, your story is so inspiring. It hits home because nobody is immune from the devil knocking on your door and saying, here I am, I'm going to come in. And you were able to not only fight back hard, but come full circle. I mean, talk about coming full circle. You went from realizing that you wanted to be a patient advocate to becoming a patient. And now again, you are a patient advocate with the fire of a lion inside of you. And I just think it's so amazing. It's awesome. It really is. And so you started a couple things, and I want you to talk about those things. First of all, your podcast. I think that's a really neat idea. I think it's very cool. I hope you guys continue doing it because I listened to a couple episodes and I think it really does highlight the true patient perspective on things. And then we'll talk about the ultimate thing that I think we all want to talk about today. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and how you got there.
Yeah. So through my cancer journey, I realized that there's a lot of people fighting the same battles like me, and that they're often feeling unheard, overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led me and industry friend of mine, Jessica Krauser, to create the Patient RX podcast. And what we realized is that we talk a lot about patients, but we don't always listen to patients or get their opinions and bring the patient voice into conversations as we build programs or solutions or policies, right, in healthcare. And so that was really our inspiration, and our launching off point is we want the patient brought to the table. Every patient has a right to have a seat at the table. And so we started having candid conversations with decision makers and other folks in the industry. We are very unfiltered around our experiences, and we talk about them, and we talk about what are some of the solutions, what are things that we can do. And we're challenging the outdated systems within the healthcare industry. It's a space where everyone can come together, executives to providers to patients, and everyone can have a seat at the table. So the podcast is just another way to amplify the patient voice and the patient experience.
I love it.
I think that's tremendous. I mean, just like you said, having a platform to now bring together everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Yeah.
typical of you. Yeah.
It really is.
Having your career, what more can I do? Oh, cancer, this doesn't work.
Start a
Now what can I
podcast.
do?
Why not?
And starting a podcast isn't easy.
Okay.
Cindy and I know about this very well.
Oh, yeah. We might be able to tell you a little more than you think.
Yeah.
I know, but you figured
We
it
are
out.
enjoying it. That is for sure.
Yeah. It's really
Well,
awesome.
Connected us to you. So I love that you get to be here with us to talk to our audience. And one of the things that I think is absolutely tremendous in your trajectory of constantly changing, growing, and seeing something wrong and not stopping is when you came to build Tina's Warriors. And I am so excited for you to talk to us today about Tina's Warriors, how it started, what it's doing, where you are, because it's just phenomenal.
Yeah. So Tina's Warriors is now officially a nonprofit.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we're so excited. And it was really born from my personal battle with cancer. As I mentioned before, I experienced significant gaps in the industry, in the healthcare system, accessing care or the delay. And with some of my colleagues in the industry had voiced some of those gaps, and we decided to do something about it. So I'll go backwards a little bit. Right before I started chemotherapy, probably it was like the timing, the universe just knew. I think the universe was saying, this is now going to be your path, and I'm going to show you how to go. And so a day before I started chemotherapy, one of my girlfriends had signed me up with the National Breast Cancer Foundation for a Hope Kit. And a Hope Kit is this beautiful package that comes in the mail, and anybody can sign anyone up who's going through treatment. And it has all these items in this box, like really nice items, like a water bottle, fuzzy socks to wear through treatment, eyelashes. I mean, when you lose your eyelashes, like, right?
Gosh,
Like
yeah.
nausea pops, things for nausea, chamomile tea, like all these things, a crossword puzzle. So while you're sitting there through treatment, you could do like these beautiful items. And I didn't realize I needed all those things, but the Breast Cancer Foundation knew I did as a woman going through treatment. And it arrived, and I immediately knew that that was something one day I wanted to give back to another woman. In the box was a card, a handwritten card by the woman who packed that box. And it was this beautiful message of resilience, of bravery, of courage, and just the light. And it gave me hope. It told me that there was somebody from afar that was giving me hope and lighting my way.
Wow.
And so Tina's Warriors was born in the effort to give back to other women that same hope I felt that day. and just wanting to give these hope kits to women. So we had our first hope kit event last year in May at a large pharmaceutical conference. And we thought, gosh, maybe 50 people will show up. We would raise some money. We had over 350 people show up to the event.
Oh,
And
350? Wow.
That's
yes,
amazing, Tina.
yes. And then the money started coming in. People started donating, companies started donating. And last year we were able to send over 1,000 hope kits to women
Wow.
all over the country.
Oh
We
my God.
held 4 massive events. At the last event, we had 400 people show up.
Oh my gosh.
And then we were able to raise in less than 7 months over $86,000.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and
Oh
so
my gosh.
Wow.
$86,000. And that's
yes,
all because you saw something wrong and did something about it.
yes.
Oh
And I
my
told my
gosh.
story. I told my
Yeah.
story, and
Oh,
people listened, and they heard the pain, they heard the gaps, they listened, and they came and they supported me and they lifted me. And so Tina's Warriors was born. And we said, well, we're going to keep doing this for as long as we can. And we're here to push pharmaceutical companies, insurance providers, healthcare systems to meet us where we're at and to create more patient-centric solutions and to really create some policy changes. These hope events are a way to get the decision makers in the room to hear the things that we want them to change. And our goal is to not just send out hope kits, but to provide free mammograms to women in underserved communities. We are also hoping that eventually in Tina's Warriors 2.0, that we could help women pay for some of these expensive cancer medications. I mean, I'm on a medication right now that costs $17,800 a month.
oh my
What?
gosh.
Now, my insurance
Oh
covers
my
it,
gosh.
but the
Holy cow.
copays, people don't realize these cancer products are very
Oh my,
expensive. The medication that's supposed to keep me
Mm.
alive is this expensive. There's people out there that don't have good
can't
health
afford it.
coverage. They have to pay a percentage of that 17,000. And I know this because
Mm.
I live and breathe in this industry where we launch these products. And so for Tina's Warriors 2.0, I want to help pay for these medications that are keeping these women alive and to give them equal access to these innovative medications that everybody, every American should be able to afford.
Oh my gosh, Tina. I
Really, like, can we just broadcast throughout this entire world so that everybody can hear this right now? Because every policymaker and decision maker in the world should hear this because nobody is immune from suffering
oh
from this disease or a disease just like it. And
yeah.
Tina, for you to have taken, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, you guys, that how not only inspiring you are, but it was a terrible, unfortunate thing that happened, a tragedy for you that you still live today, that you are fighting every day. And you literally took that, you kicked it in the butt, and you were like, you know what? Screw you. I'm not only going to teach you and show you, I'm going to make a complete difference in as many people's lives as I possibly can, as quickly as I can. And Tina, you have done that. I am watching you grow tremendously with this one foundation and the companies that you're working with and the government, the policies that you're going to change. It's unbelievable. And you're one person. And I hope everybody out there listening understands that it just takes a mind shift, a mindset, and you have it. You have it, and you just, God, I just want to be right behind you, cheering you on the whole way, Tina, because this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so many women you're already affecting. And didn't you say that these hope baskets are like, they're hard to get, aren't they? Isn't there like a long waiting list
That's what
to
I
get
was
them?
going to say.
Yes, there is. So on the National Breast Cancer Foundation's list, so we could sign somebody up and they go on a wait list. There's thousands of women waiting for a hope kit.
Oh my God,
Thousands.
Crazy.
breaks my heart.
And you think of all that you've made and all that was sent, and there's still thousands more women.
Yes, yes. So my goal is to get as many women off that list as quickly as we can. And so we are, for our next big event for 2025, Dreaming Bigger, we want to touch 2,000, 3,000 maybe more women. We want to also bring in free mammograms to communities where they don't have access to that. And I'm working with the National Breast Cancer Foundation right now to do that in October. We're working to really elevate our desire for policy change and access. So all of us, I feel like my voice has elevated high, and there's people gathering around to lift me up to continue telling my truth and not backing away from being just very authentic about my experience.
Oh, Tina, you are a true warrior. I mean, you've given us all hope today. I mean, even just to realize to never give up, and that if you want something to change, you need to make it happen. Yeah. And you're already thinking of Tina's Warriors 2.0. It's crazy. I think it's tremendous what you're doing. I think it's hard to absorb, to think how many women are suffering and all that they go through. But for you to be able to tell your story, and for us just to take a minute in a day and to think about, we have our own struggles and somebody has it harder, and what can we do to help, makes it better. And then I think that will help build and provide that support that you're already feeling, that we hope it grows even more after this airs, and that you know, everybody can hear this and send more support your way, because I bet there's people listening that right now are like, oh my gosh, how can I help? How can I help?
So they're like, how can I help? How can I help? So Tina, where can people go to find Tina's Warriors, to donate, to become part of this amazing movement?
It's www.tinaswarriors.org. So that's TINAS warriors.org.
And we will be tagging it in our post, in our podcast. For those that cannot write it down, that are driving right now, we will have it as a hyperlink. I don't know how else I can be inspired today, Cindy. Like, I literally am like, come on, world, bring it on. I mean, Tina, if I could just have an ounce of your courage and your power, it's inspiring. And I know your daughters absolutely not only adore you, but look up to you. And what a phenomenal role model you are for them and every woman out there that is listening to this.
Oh, it's tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
I think in the end, I want my daughters to know that their mom fought really hard, and how to turn something that's life altering into something positive, to pay it forward. And I want them to see that they could navigate anything.
Oh, I love that.
I think with those words, Cindy, I think this has been a tremendous episode. Tina, thank you for honoring us with your presence. Honestly, you're a very busy woman and you are just awe-inspiring. So thank you so much. I need to go dab my eyes now and blow my nose.
I know.
But thank you so much for your amazing and personal and vulnerable story. Thanks for sharing that with all of us. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. And I appreciate both of you for, like I said, thinking of me and allowing me to share my story.
Oh, yes. And if there is any last words you need to say, anything you want to say, please share.
I think the last thing I would say is that women, we must lift each other up, and we rise by sharing our knowledge and opening doors for each other.
And with that, Amen. I think that was perfectly said. Oh, Tina,
now that's going to bring more tears.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.